Добър ден и от мен.
Good morning.
Искам първо да благодаря на всички,
Let me say thanks to everyone
от времето
who
си,
have invested some time and have plucked the courage to come to today's event.
Няма да правя встъпителна реч, направо ще поканя нашите
I will skip my introductory words and I will invite our guests here to the panel to talk on the topics which are of concern to everyone and address the possible solutions that we could find in the near or in the longer term in a fast fluctuating circumstances, and how we could rearrange our agenda in order to meet those challenges that take place so fast. Now, this is the discussion theme: artificial intelligence and machine learning in cybersecurity. And apart from cybersecurity, we're going to be, and artificial intelligence, we are going to be talking about all the hot issues today. Let me invite to the panel Mr. Iravan Hiram, Managing Director of Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Our other guest who arrived from Romania is Magda Giano, a business manager of Palo Alto for Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Moldova. Please grab a mic. And our distance participants, remote participants,
hello, Jan. He is Director of Security Strategy the EMEA from Sentinel-1. I'm going to switch the languages from time to time to be easier for the guys. Hello, Jan. Can we hear you?
Yes, thank you very much for
hello.
Glad to be here today.
And the other panelist that we have is joining us. It is Giovanni Roberto. He is Senior Solution Architect and Partner Technical Manager from Rapid7. Hello, Roberto.
Hello.
Giovanni,
hello,
pardon.
I'm
going to take the small name. So, thank you all for joining us. First, thinking about the changing times or thinking about the artificial intelligence. I'm going to switch to Bulgarian. Sorry, Magda, for you. You're not going to understand, but искам да споделя първо свои впечатления. Очаквах, че така ще се объркам. Искам да споделя свои впечатления за това колко бързо изкуственият интелект ни залива от различни страни и дали ние успяваме ли да го видим това и да го отразим. Последното нещо, което чух като пример, да ви го дам, да разберете докъде сме стигнали, е, че новия инструмент на Амазон е склонен да ни обяснява сутрин с какво е най-добре да се облечем днес, така че да се чувстваме комфортно, да говорим на времето и на програмата си от календара. Някак си това може и да е малко отвъд очакванията ни за това какво изкуственият интелект е готов да ни предложи,
about the role of artificial intelligence in our day-to-day and arrange our agenda. The question is, where does the border run of AI, how fast AI has developed? I would like to ask Ervan, where do you see the AI? How do you confront it? What can you share?
На български, нали? I speak Bulgarian. Okay. Иначе благодаря ти, Алекс.
Thank you, Alex.
Всички се радвам, че
I'm
мога да
very happy
присъствам
to
на
be
това,
here.
макар и хибридно събитие.
Although it's a hybrid event,
Да, изкуствен интелект ние сме го срещнали много
artificial
отдавна, още
intelligence,
в
we have
литературата.
have encounters with it a long time ago when we were reading literature and in our textbooks. We were talking with it with our teachers. Everybody has an opinion about AI.
Това, което в крайна сметка
And what
ако
is
мога това да кажа, изкуствен интелект е нещо, което помага.
AI is something that helps us.
На физическия труд,
Just like years ago, physical labor, when the pyramids were being built, and they were trying to lift each individual stone by hand, and then the machines came to replace physical labor. The same way, software and modern technology gives us a chance to replace intellectual work, intellectual labor with AI. What we see something important recently has been the fuel or the data that AI uses. So the most important thing, if AI were to function, is the quality of data. And this is the conclusions that we made. At the moment, all those technologies produce such a wealth of information that there's no way to have it analyzed. And based on this information, we should be able to make our conclusions. We are not able to make our conclusions, and it cannot translate into action. Just imagine that 97% of generated data generated by machines and sensors and computers are not analyzed. And here is where AI comes in to analyze and to process all this information and to help humankind make its final conclusions. Something else we're witnessing is that the last mile, the last word belongs to humans. However much we use the AI, humans are the ones to press the last button and take the final solution. So AI and machines, they provide us with scenarios and options and capacity, but human beings, based on their experience, based on their value systems, take the decision. But this is something that we see in our day-to-day already, AI. We can talk a lot about it.
I'm going to switch in English now because I'm going to turn to our guests that don't speak Bulgarian. There was a recent movie where the artificial intelligence was deciding the elections. I mean, it was deciding who is the best to rule. There was no elections. The only part of the elections was who from the voting people is going to reveal the secret about the ruling person. So this was the election. So yeah, it's exaggerating. We're exaggerating, but your experience, Magda, about the artificial intelligence, your thoughts about the machine learning. What do you think? Where are we? Where are we going?
Thank you. Dobar den. And I'm sorry, that's the only thing I can pronounce in Bulgarian yet. Next time I will do my full speech. You know, I don't believe that it's that far-fetched. And I believe that artificial intelligence in a few hundred years probably will be the thing that is right now just fueling the dystopian movies that we're seeing on TV. That's one part of the artificial intelligence as we know it. We call that artificial general intelligence. It's the holy grail, if we can call it like that, of this computer science field. But again, that's not until a few hundred years, as most scientists claim, that will turn into a technological singularity and will probably completely change the world. Artificial intelligence as we see it today is more trivial. Actually, it's all around us. Siri is artificial intelligence, Alexa, my personal favorite, I'm coming from Bucharest, so where traffic, you've probably heard of it, it's a mythical thing already, so Waze, it's using artificial intelligence to make decisions and to help us find our best way. This is the narrow artificial intelligence, what we call it today. It's basically a set of rules. It or relies on machine learning or on deep learning to help us perform tasks or to automate tasks which normally would be done by humans and would require human intelligence. It will fundamentally change the way businesses work, and I believe that the businesses who manage to harvest the power of artificial intelligence will probably be the ones that prevail. I have an example, very concrete way that it was used in e-commerce. I was browsing through a website, I was shopping. I probably looked at 100 products. You know, women, we couldn't decide, I couldn't decide, so I eventually left the site. A couple of hours later, after looking at all these products, I opened my email account, Yahoo, and I found on the right-hand side, where you see the advertising running, 3 products which apparently I liked the most. If you had asked me which products did I enjoy, I couldn't have told you. But the machine learning algorithm, it read probably measured the time that I spend on every product, probably measured my eye movement, I probably checked for sizes and for colors, but it did understand my behavior better than I did. And I finally made the buy. Yeah, it helped the merchandiser sell. That's what it is, really. It just reads behaviors and helps augment decisions.
Okay, thank you for that opinion. Jan, how is artificial intelligence for you? Share some thoughts with us.
Sure. So I agree with everything that has been said. And I like the question about the limits of AI. I think that we haven't really approached the limits yet because we tend to not see the places that it can be applied. When I talk to a construction company, they tell me that AI is great, but they really don't have an application for it. Then you tell them about predictive maintenance, where you find out about a machine potentially failing and needing maintenance before it fails, reducing downtime. I had a customer a while ago that was running a water network for a city, and they were doing predictions of when a pipe was about to burst, because pipe bursts are really expensive to repair. And all of these are practical applications of machine learning, which has only been with us really in its current form as a data-based form since about 30 years. And I agree with Magda that I'm very excited about the future. Given that if you looked at the calculators from the 1700s and you look at the smartphone today, if you extrapolate that kind of development to AI and the application of machine learning, I think there's a lot more knowledge-based and knowledge worker tasks that we can scale and automate and make everyday devices much more intelligent than that. At the same time, I think there are bloated expectations where AI is often synonymous with general intelligence like humans have, creativity, the ability to reason and think and reflect in the way that we do. And we are a very long time from that. Amazon Alexa has been mentioned. The way they use AI is for natural language processing, to take spoken language and turn it into written language. That's a very simple task, and everything after that is just scripted conversation. But it feels natural to us. The AI portion of it, though, is very insignificant. So that are my thoughts on AI in general at the moment.
Thank you for sharing this. Giovanni, tell us about your thoughts about machine learning, artificial intelligence around you, around your life.
Thank you, and hello everyone again. First of all, thank you for having me and for organizing such a great event. And apology for not being able to be there, but it was really impossible to travel at this time. So artificial intelligence, and more specifically machine learning, is today a little bit everywhere in our daily life. So we spoke about social media or web searching, I think, store and services, email communications. So as a consumer, I would say I have the perception that machine learning can help me, but sometimes maybe they use too much data. You know, so as a consumer, I have my own perspective. We can use Google and Gmail, for example. Gmail is an example of machine learning. You can even have an answer to an email already pre-populated, you know. LinkedIn, for example, I'm aware that recruiters use LinkedIn and, you know, to match maybe their search with the demands, you know, so to find the right candidates. But also Facebook, for example. Facebook, we know that they use massively machine learning. Chatbots, think about chatbots. If you use your mobile operator and networks and you need some services, most of the time in Europe, as in the United States now, you hit the chatbot and then the chatbot will pass you to a human being. So is this useful? Well, most of the time can drive you crazy, but it is true that you can really serve many more customers at the same time without necessarily occupy the time of more experts, human agent that can help actually the more relevant cases. We have also mentioned the product, you know, like the purchase sector, like, I don't know, for example, Amazon as well. Amazon is using a lot machine learning to try to propose us the best products to buy. But these are only examples from the consumer world. These are only, I would say, the most important, I wouldn't say the most, I would say the most evident examples. Google Analytics, for example, is another one. But we use machine learning in our work as well. And so at the Rapid7, we use machine learning, artificial intelligence to try to detect attacks and to try to detect malicious events and the circumstances, and alert as soon as possible and in the most relevant way our customers that are security practitioners that work in let's say protecting their data, trying to protect in their company premises, and the employees that now are smart working as well. So, but we also use machine learning to improve our products. Why? Because machine learning comes after a long process of innovation. And we are today in the age of big data. So maybe in the future, in a couple of years, in a couple of 100 years from now, they will talk about the first and the second decades of the 2000 as the big data era. So we have a lot of data. So we can potentially get and store a lot of data, but we need to analyze this data. We need to provide useful information. How do you actually provide useful information when you have a huge amount of data? So this is a challenge for everyone in our business. And for example, at Rapid7, we try to leverage, I would say, the expertise, but also machine learning to try to make products that can be used by human beings. And because human beings, they don't have unlimited time, they don't have unlimited resources. Sometimes they work in small teams. So this is extremely useful. And so we touched some very, very important topics. So for example, Jan spoke about the limits about machine learning. I agree with that. I would also mention that the trust. Can we trust machine learning? Can we trust artificial intelligence, or at least until what extent? Would you travel in a Google car, knowing that the car is driving basically on its own, and you're actually sleeping, would you actually sleep while your Google car is actually traveling? Or would you travel on an airplane knowing that the pilot is actually sleeping and is not actually doing anything? Now, today, the average time that the pilot is manually controlling the airplane is about 7%, which means 93% is probably watching and monitoring, we hope. Well, there are a couple of pilots at least, but it's actually not manually controlling the plane. And that is fine, because we know we rely on the pilot to control everything, and on that 7% of manual operation. So trust is very, very important. And the way we, for example, think we can build trust when there are chatbots, when there are robots in operation, when there is automation, when there is machine learning and artificial intelligence in a more general context, is to give the human being the opportunity and the choice to interrupt the automation.
Thank you, Giovanni.
This is why we are going into what we call SOAR, so security orchestration automation, that allows
Giovanni, I'm going to interrupt you. We are going to go in the products in a few minutes. I just want to thank you for that introduction. We're going to talk a bit for the products in a bit. I wanted to share also my experience about the machine learning, and I think that this market, this business is booming. I mean, there are so many startups building new machine learning technology based on machine learning and artificial intelligence, new products. For example, I was surprised to find out that there is a startup who is reading the script for a movie, and based on machine learning is predicting what would be the return on the investment of building this movie, of shooting this movie and making this movie. And they're pretty close to the results. They tried it several times, and it's about between 10 and 15%. They're guessing rightly what is going to get out of this movie. And there is another one, very maybe even more strange for me, that is based on your mood in front of the computer, so analyzing your reactions and how you browse, how you type, how hard you hit the keyboard. Based on that, they create the advertisement for your mood. So kind of a strange. So there is some concerns about the privacy also, in my opinion. But as you mentioned also, Giovanni and Jan, the big data is also a big concern. I mean, concern for us, for the IT guys, how we manage this. So, споделете с нас, господин Хира, вашите мисли за това.
Hira, your thoughts about big data and about cybersecurity and AI.
Благодаря много. Наистина има много примери.
Thank you very much. There are a lot of examples. When you talk about that, I guess the TikTok, what I realized, because Microsoft was interested in TikTok, I opened the telephone of my daughter and I asked her to show me TikTok. So TikTok also has an artificial intelligence and guessing what video would be liked by the audience, and gives a script or scenario. It gives those scenario to my daughter, and so she would pick up a lot of views. So what we do in Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, we see is years ago we relied to our R&D to create the best machines and software. But what we saw in those last years, we realized that the variety is just important. So the access to technologies is very broad right now from all over the world. So we decided to really search the best ideas and turn them into solutions. So during those last years, our company grows with buying big decisions. So we bought Wimble, and I thought, well, it's a storage company making a great algorithm for, and we gave $3 billion for this company. And it's a software intelligence. In Nimble, there is a software called InfoSight, and it's an AI. It analyzes the behavior not only of the system analysts and administrators, how the machine behaves, how the data is processed, where is the big load. So the goal is, after the training, just analyzing the administrators to take control proactively. Don't imagine that this software would become a system analysis, an administrator. It takes the control of the operation of data, but sometimes it judges when something would be broken and proactively order it beforehand. Another example, in our company, we bought Aruba years ago for $2 billion. Again, a startup with a lot of good hardware solutions. And we said, well, it's probably competitive of Cisco. It turned out that Aruba had the intelligence of devices. It was independent. It worked with a broad spectrum of companies. It could be integrated in all kinds of solutions. Also creating smart cities, smart houses. And the other strength of this company was the opportunity to just avoid cyber attack. There is another product called Introspect. In Aruba, this product was an AI as well, a software that could analyze the behavior of the consumers and learn from them. And what we notice, just talking about the AI, notice that how the good people use the AI, the bad guys also use it. And we notice that it's just a too sharp knife, because the bad guys, they use the AI to follow and analyze the behavior of people. In HB, we noticed that 4 or 5 people of our employees would just click an email of phishing and follow a link. During 2 years, this percentage grew up to 25, and we thought, are we not training our people? But it turned out that the bad guys just using the AI to analyze my behavior, and they create my profile, and then they could just do this customized email, and I would not doubt it as well at all, and just open this email and become a victim of this. So for this reason, in Aruba, Introspect, there is a software that could analyze this behavior, and if it checks some changes, to alert us. So in cybersecurity, we see this struggle between the good AI and malware AI. And the biggest advance here is the time. So if the bad guys are armed with AI, it means that we, as good guys, should arm with AI. Otherwise, they will have better technologies than us.
Thinking about talking about TikTok, I remember a funny story, because first of all, I also heard about TikTok from a child, and I installed it to check the solution. And after weeks of using it, I can see now a trend of the videos that have been shown from the platform. And the funny thing is that when I went to a teenager, my nephew, and asked, let me see your TikTok, completely different feed of stories, crazy for me, you know. It's the teenagers are maybe we don't understand them, and maybe they don't understand us. I mean, this is the difference between us. But TikTok knew what to show to whom to continue scrolling, you know. And we started the selling, Magda, point. So how the machine learning and artificial intelligence is helping Palo Alto networks, or vice versa, how Palo Alto networks what are the concerns about the bad guys using machine learning, artificial intelligence, as Iravan said. How can we respond? How can we contribute? What are you using? What can we rely on?
Well, first of all, if we look at what's happening in the industry, I think that the main trend or the main challenge is still the shortage of technical staff. The security operations center teams are strained. They're experimenting what we call alert fatigue. They're simply trying to pivot from panel to panel, to manage alerts, hundreds, thousands of alerts every day, and it's simply becoming unmanageable. So I believe that the keyword in cybersecurity in general and in what Palo Alto Networks is trying to do is automation. And we do automation and we achieve this goal of removing as much manual activity as possible from a security analyst's life using machine learning. And of course, it's extended branch artificial intelligence. We've extended and introduced XDR. This is our extended detection and response technology, which is trying to do exactly that. And we've managed to reduce, I know it may be marketing, but close to 95% of repetitive tasks which security teams are doing, we've managed to reduce that and to use machine learning to automate this process and to automatically respond. We've added a layer of automation into the XOR technology, which is the solution that is automating the response and the activity of security operation centers. We've managed to correlate thousands of incidents, or thousands of alerts actually, into incidents, into real incidents, eliminate the false positives, which were also adding a lot of overhead. And we managed to use machine learning to guide the security analyst through to resolution of the case. So we're using it a lot in this aspect. We've recently launched our latest operating system, which is again for firewalls, which is again heavily relying on machine learning. We're learning, we're analyzing the behavior, we're learning what's the attacker doing, we're trying to predict the next step, we're trying to stop the next step of the malicious attack. We're identifying known threats and known attacks which have small variations that human beings and human analysts would probably not be able to detect. They would probably treat that malicious attack as a completely new invasion. And we've managed to automate and bring efficiency to the way we counterattack these threats by using machine learning. Again, I would say that the buzzword in everything we do, our main goal is to automate, is to remove as much as possible the human touch and to leave space for security analysts to focus on what really matters.
Thank you. Guys, I have the latest IT security trends from Gartner, and I want to read you the top 3 of the trends for 2020. They, by the way, dramatically changed from the time before the crisis, before the Corona crisis. So first trend, extend detection and response capabilities emerge to improve accuracy and productivity. This is what Gartner is saying. Second, security process automation emerges to eliminate repetitive tasks. So exactly what we are trying to accomplish here. And third, artificial intelligence creates new security responsibilities for protecting digital business initiatives. So there are 9. I'm not going to go through all of them. You can reach them and check. But Jan, thinking about artificial intelligence in security, thinking about detecting new and unknown threats, how difficult it is to implement this? How is Sentinel-1 doing?
So I think that's a great question. First of all, how difficult it is. I want to take a step back to respond to one of the things that you said and that Magda said about automation. I think automation is great and it's a key enabler for what we want to do, but itself is a means to an end, and that end is to reduce the time it takes for us to contain a threat that is attacking our organization, that is affecting our organization. And we mentioned TikTok a few times, and that shows the strength of AI, which is to judge new data from knowing about past data and making that analysis automatically. And in the context of what we do, we work on the problem of discovering attacks, but doing it not based on knowledge, and then turning that into a practical defense. And AI is one of the ways that we do this. So we have elements that run on endpoints that will analyze code before it runs using machine learning models to make a determination whether that code is an attack or not. We then also make a determination of user behavior and process behavior at runtime, because there are fileless attacks, there are attacks that are based on binaries and scripting languages and so on that are already on the machine. So we judge the behavior over long periods of times and feed that into an AI model that then makes a determination whether that chain of behavior has turned into something malicious. And because it runs on the endpoint, and the AI model is pre-trained and runs on the endpoint, there are no privacy issues associated with it, no telemetry that needs to be sent anywhere, and the response is instant on the endpoint. Now, how difficult that is, and that's to your point and your question, to implement, depends on the approach that you're taking. There are models out there that you basically train in your environment, which means you need to have a baseline of behavior that people should not deviate much from, because only then will you get actionable detections and can respond to it. Our models, on the other hand, are pre-trained, which means they do not need to learn in your environment, and they can be used in production from day one. There's no need to configure them to go through a learning phase or anything, but we learned collectively from the experience of existing attacks and existing malware in the wild and pre-trained those models for you. So it's excessively easy to put this in practice, and basically all you need to do is install the agent and enable the protection for it. That's the most practical application of AI in cyber defense today, I think.
Okay, and thank you very much. One of the concerns and the trends is again saying, as Gartner is saying, is that how to decide what of our equipments that we have for our installed base of the IT equipment to update first, which are the vulnerable ones, which is the most critical. Having said that, and the other thing that I can see is that Rapid7 is one of the fastest developing companies with new products and trends. Giovanni, tell us a bit more. How are you doing this?
Well, we have a current approach, and we have some experience from many years in the area, and we like to not only to develop our products in the best way we can, but also to leverage our big community. So we have Metasploit as well, that gives us probably sometimes an unfair advantage in trying to I would say prioritize some threats, but we also have vulnerability management capabilities, where for us it's not only important to detect all the threats and vulnerabilities, but also to prioritize. And we mentioned this a little bit implicitly before, but we have this big, huge amount of data. Thousands of vulnerabilities can be found in a network, and how do you prioritize that? So we work a lot on prioritization, and we leverage, let's say, the context not only from I would say the external world, but also from the network of the customer itself. And we try to attack, I would say, a threat from different perspectives. So we have our own, for example, rating score for threats. We respect, I would say, the standards that are used worldwide, but we had the initiative to build our own risk score that is, I would say, a proprietary formula that helps us to create even more granularity in these threats and vulnerabilities in a way that we can give prioritization to these threats, so that security practitioners can work on thousands of vulnerabilities, but if they want to run a report and explain the business, the management, what they're doing, what are the top 10 or top 20 vulnerabilities to fix that will affect more devices, they can do that as well. And you mentioned also the Gartner reports that are very interesting. They talked about productivity, automation, responsibility as top 3 elements, and we can agree on that. Now, productivity and automation can go together in a way that automation can be seen as the natural extension. And this is why automation is extremely important at the moment. We cannot think that you know, we can actually respond to a threat having a level 1 analyst working at night every time on any company, right? This is impossible. So definitely we need to leverage automation, and automation is the way to go. But on the other hand, we need to use it with responsibility, which is probably the 3rd element that they mentioned. So, you know, power comes with responsibility, many say. And for me, it's important not only to use this big data to produce high fidelity alert. So we don't want to scream, you know, every time that there is a threat, but when it's really more relevant. And then we want to give more information, almost behavior and so on, but it's very important to use it with responsibility. So we use automation to improve our products, so to help our customers to have more productivity, I would say improvements, but also we leverage these automation capabilities, offering services to the customers can be customizable. So the security practitioners, the admin, can create some automated workflows that work like robots, but they can decide at any point if they want to include a machine decision or a robot decision or a human decision. And in this way, we think we build trust, because there is trust in machine learning, artificial intelligence, only when you can give you know, the user the opportunity to stop the machine and to take human decision.
Okay, thank you very much for participation in this panel. Преди да приключа с нашия панел и да поканя следващия.
Before I end with this panel and invite our next guest, I just want to encourage you to stay with us till the end, or virtually, because at the end of our program we have 2 very interesting client stories who faced very interesting problems and how they solve these problems. Very dangerous breakthrough in the informational security in the organizations working with business.
Сега искам да поканя
Now, I would like to invite our guest, Viktor Slavchev from Mnemonica, who would just come to the stage for the next panel.